This is Teresa Yanaros of Divine Frequency. Welcome to another episode of the Charlie's Angels Pop Feminism series, brought to you by Divine Frequency, for free and for your, hopefully, intellectually stimulating entertainment. A warm welcome to my new subscribers and a huge hello to those who pledge on Patreon. Thank you for supporting independent media. Y'all rock. Make sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell for notifications on fresh, new, amazing, totally awesome content by yours truly. Here we go. In part one of Charlie's Angels Pop Feminism series, we discussed the history of Charlie's Angels and the sexual revolution, and how the intersection of second wave feminism and the sexual revolution of the 1960s created a wave of sexual liberation that ultimately boosted popularity of shows like Charlie's Angels, released on ABC in 1976. In addition to the TV show's focus on sex, which women saw as freedom and empowerment, the focus on violence against men is also important to mention when it comes to considering the effect of the media upon American society. Empowerment of women became synonymous with the overpowerment of men. Yikes! In an attempt to demonstrate a woman's power, the show presents women engaging in violence against men. This incites women not only to emasculate men, but also to demoralize and abuse them in an attempt to overcome the patriarchy, a term coined in the 60s during second wave feminism by Kate Millett, an American feminist writer, professor, and advocate. Patriarchy refers to the alleged power structure of society ruled by men, with the intention to oppress women and retain its authoritarian, male-focused locus of control. One of the many problems around the loaded term patriarchy is that it evokes a sense of justification in some people to blame all men for problems caused by some people. I actually think that the acceptance of violence by women toward men in the media has become increasingly widely accepted. And we're going to talk about that concept much more, so put a pin in that. One thing I feel I must note is that the Charlie's Angels franchise is clearly presented as a comedy. So then we must ask ourselves, is it meant to showcase the dichotomy within American culture that we seem to be perfectly okay with degrading women through hypersexualization and objectification, while in the same breath encouraging them that this actually is a means to liberate and empower them? Does it raise the dialogue that in America we seem to support a violent overthrow of power structures as the only effective means to overcome them? And moreover from that, is it emphasizing or propagandizing the idea that a patriarchal society is in control no matter what women do? Going from one patriarchal construct controlled by men to another, all the while using their sexuality to trick the bad guy and violence to get what they want? Or does comedy in this case run the risk of making light of a serious situation? What are your thoughts? Comment below to join the conversation. The Charlie's Angels phenomenon over time was a repeated hashing out of the 1970s TV show, birthed into the world amidst the sexual revolution. This idea grew from then all the way up to the 21st century. Charlie's Angels released a movie and a sequel, but that was all the way back in 2000 and 2003. And I'm sure if you're paying attention, you'll notice this walk we've been taking with Charlie's Angels down feminist history lane seems to be leading us smack dab into the middle of highly relevant themes that have popped up within American feminist culture in the last year. And I quote, "It's an evolution. It's the same world just 20 years later," end quote. A perspective offered by Naomi Scott in an October 2019 Entertainment Tonight interview in reference to the latest Charlie's Angels movie. With the concept of feminism being crazily distorted into many different theories, shapes, and sizes, we've got a pretty spectacular problem on our hands. First wave feminism in the late 19th, early 20th century championed women's right to vote and gain property rights. Second wave feminism in the 1960s to the 1980s focused on sexual liberation, birth control, and equal pay. Third wave feminism in the 1990s to the 2000s, women became increasingly more dissatisfied with their lives and seemingly even more incompatible with men. Through charging forward toward independence, abortion rights, and all the single ladies, women found themselves mentally propelling themselves into delusionary belief systems around toxic masculinity, rape culture, misandry, which is the hatred of men, and hookup culture. With the announcement of the latest Charlie's Angels film coming out November 2019, what does feminist activism look like today? Women already have voting rights, property rights, employment rights, birth control, and abortion. What more could women be asking for in America nowadays? Are they still being brutalized by a patriarchal society? Or are they just lashing out, angry and wanting to play the victim card against a brutal oppressor named the patriarchy? Well, some definitely take girl power too far, but I think we can approach modern American feminism with a balanced perspective. I'm not throwing the idea that women have things to overcome in the trash. In fact, people have risen up to end sexual exploitation and violence. An interesting goal, given that the second wave of feminism was all about sexual liberation and even pornography. With the hashtag #MeToo movement, where victims of sexual crimes were publicly coming out and saying, "Me too," women and men in America are undergoing a collective purging of past sexual crimes. It's imperative that these sexual predators are brought to justice and that education is provided to the masses about personal boundaries and professionalism. That being said, have we not created this sex-obsessed culture in which we are now suffering the consequences? I am not victim blaming here, but what I'm saying is, in a culture where casual hooking up is the baseline of human activity, excessive alcohol consumption is also glorified and pushed in the mainstream media, and the rise of easy to download, easy to use hookup dating apps where you can simply swipe your phone screen to connect with another person seeking casual sex, it seems like women and men alike are continually placing themselves in situations where the lines are blurred and miscommunication can happen. Barely consciously functioning men and women trying to solidify sexual contracts is clearly ending in disaster. We are seeing the fruits of that now. Moreover, the cat is out of the bag. A litany of disclosure continues to pour into the public domain regarding men in positions of power manipulating women into using sexuality as a tool for gaining success in their careers. Known as the Time's Up movement, founded in 2018, Hollywood celebrities responded publicly against sexual harassment that had been occurring for decades. So many people worldwide were beginning to accuse powerful men of sexual abuse that it became popularized and referred to as the Weinstein effect, named after Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein, who experienced a slew of sexual abuse allegations in October of 2017. I myself have definitely had personal experiences with men in various industries being completely inappropriate and unprofessional, and I've had close female friends and family members deal with the same over the last 15 years of our professional careers. I hate to say it, but even though it's 2019, there is absolutely still sexism within the realms of employment. Because people are standing up and bringing their voices out, it is bringing these truths out of the dark. That being said, Americans debate and disagree over how to solve this problem. Some want to pass legislation against parity issues in the workplace. Others think it's an education problem. Others think it goes way deeper into the fabric of society and is actually more of a spiritual issue. If you have experienced sexual harassment in the workplace, I have to say this, there are organizations that help assist with legal proceedings, including the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. You can Google that. I'll link it below. So there is progress being made in a positive way within third wave feminism, in my opinion. That being said, balance and fortitude and an air of compromise will take us far to confront the issues that men and women are having. At the same time, the violent, hatred some people apply toward these topics dredge up unreasonable attitudes toward an invisible force called the patriarchy, and are causing some people to act irrationally and even violently. We've got a serious issue going on with misandry, the hatred of men. As we weave through the tapestry of women's issues, let's appreciate what is useful and release the perspectives that are damaging to women, men, and the movement as a whole, and society as a whole. As far as misandry and violence against men goes, you're going to see what I mean as we embark upon analyzing the latest contribution to the Charlie's Angels franchise and how it adds into the feminist zeitgeist. It's all quite a mess. Clearly, some good things, others not so good, but let's see how all of this cultural dialogue plays out when we take a deeper look. With the fractured nature of the women's movement, what will a modern Charlie's Angels look like in our current feminist climate? Bruce Fretz of the New York Times said in an article published June 27, 2019, "Can a remnant from the Jiggle TV era be reinvented as a female empowerment action flick for the Time's Up generation?" That's the task undertaken by Elizabeth Banks, and judging by the first trailer for her take on Charlie's Angels, she just might pull it off, end quote. Stay tuned for the next episodes in this series, where we will break down the hype around the latest installment of Charlie's Angels, to be released November 15th, 2019. We will assess trailers, media engagement, music videos, and more, with more commentary and analysis related to our current climate of culture within pop feminism. This is Teresa Yanaros of Divine Frequency, signing off.